welcome to today's session of Virtually Connecting. We're excited to have Amy Collier joining us. She's the Associate Provost at Middlebury College. Some of us, I think, had a chance to listen to Amy's keynote either live or recorded version. So we'll start just by having everyone who is on the virtual side doing a quick introduction, and then we'll let those of you in the room start. But my name is Patrice Torcivia-Prosco, and I am in Ithaca, New York at Cornell University. Autumn, do you want to go next?
Hey, I'm Autumn Keynes. I'm coming to you from Columbus, Ohio in the United States, and I'm at Capital University right now.
And Jameson?
Unmute, Jameson.
Jameson, you're muted? Yeah.
There, that's better. Hi, I'm Jameson Miller. I'm a doctoral student in education at the College of William and Mary in Williamsburg, Virginia in the U.S.
And Cindy?
Good morning, everyone, from South Carolina. I'm at the University of South Carolina Upstate in Spartanburg, foothills of the Appalachians, and I'm Director of Learning Technologies here.
And Sunday?
Hi, everyone. I'm Sunday Richard, and I'm usually in Wisconsin at St. Norbert College, but right now I'm in New Mexico, happily, a little bit warmer. I'm very happy to be here.
And Susan?
Yes, I'm Susan Adams. I'm in Portland, Oregon at Oregon Health and Science University. I'm an instructional designer in their Teaching and Learning Center.
Okay, thanks. And I know we were supposed to have a few more people, so it's possible they may pop in.
Mark?
Sorry, Mark.
Yes. Yes, my name is Mark Johnston. I'm an instructional designer and lecturer at the University of New Haven, and I'm posted in Doha, Qatar, so I'm an hour ahead of Cairo.
Great. Okay, now we'll turn it over to those of you in Cairo.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nadine Abulmagd. I work at the Center for Learning and Teaching at AUC. I'm going to pass the mic around for everybody to do their introductions.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amy Collier. As Patrice was saying, I'm at Middlebury College, Associate Provost for Digital Learning.
Maha Bailey. I'm an Associate Professor of Practice at the Center for Learning and Teaching here at AUC and organizer of the Digital Pedagogy Lab, Cairo.
Hello, everyone. My name is Karim. I'm founder and program director at the Cairo Institute of Liberal Arts and Sciences.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dimitris Zouris. I'm an instructional technologist at the American College of Thessaloniki in Greece, and I'm having fun here at Digital Pedagogy Lab in Cairo.
Okay, let's get the conversation started. Does anybody have any questions directly that they want to ask Amy about her keynote, or generally comments from you guys keeping up with us virtually?
I have a question.
Yep, go for it.
So I'm really excited to, I'll have to apologize, Amy, I haven't listened to your entire keynote, but I caught enough of the stream yesterday and enough of it to see the connection that you made to Gardner's framework for student engagement. And I'm excited to see that idea getting traction, and I'd like to discuss with everyone, because my population of learners is faculty. I've been thinking a lot about his framework and a lot about his framework shaping critical pedagogy and starting from places of Gardner calls love. David Wiley talks about generosity as a kind of a founding concept for working with faculty and working with students, etc. And so I've been pulling together a whole lot of, I'm getting a lot of feedback from others. I'm not sure where that's coming from, but thinking about all of these student engagement ideas as they apply to faculty as learners in faculty development, and how this works when we shape what we do with what we offer faculty in these same ways. And I'm going to mute myself now.
You're good to be here? This is live and recorded on the internet. You're good to be here? Okay.
All right, Cindy, it's a great question. I think that kind of reflection when thinking about who the people that we're talking about participating in an educational experience with are. And so I actually would love to kind of open it up for the group, everyone, anyone, to kind of share their ideas, because I imagine there are some people in this group, like I heard Susan say that she's an instructional designer, who work with faculty directly. And it would be, I think, a really fruitful conversation to have, to think about the perspective of what if we were talking about faculty and we were, could we say the same kinds of things?
Right. So actually, this is one of the interesting things that happened at the end of your keynote yesterday. I was reflecting with some of my colleagues, and she wasn't really sure if the love at the top was with reference to the faculty member teaching or the students learning. And I think originally it was with the student learning. Then if you talk about faculty development, which Cindy and I do, we are talking about us teaching faculty and trying to reach that. And so what I've been thinking about recently is there's a lot of talk about whether faculty development should be voluntary or whether it should be how does it become part of your assessment and so on. And I think you don't want faculty to be coming to you because they're just complying. Hi, Wendy. Is it like really late where you are? Really early? Really late or really early?
Late.
Okay. So that you don't want them to come because of compliance. You want them to get interested, but sometimes to get them interested, you need someone to push them to come in the first place because they don't always know that this is something they're going to like. But in the end, what you really want is this loving relationship between the faculty developer and the faculty member. And I think I personally try to build those relationships, and then when you have those relationships, everything else in the pyramid disappears, I think. Like when it's a caring relationship, it becomes something.
I want to add to that because I think one thing that Gardner says in his talk that I didn't say in mine, but I think is really important, is that when you end up with a place of respect and love in the way that he talks about, that eventually it kind of trickles down the rest of the pyramid, and he says compliance becomes discipline. And I think that's a really interesting way of thinking about how love can shape all the other levels that are at play here. And I think you're right. When I think about working with faculty, I don't know if it's a love thing or an interest thing or a connection thing, but I like to think about inspiration, right? I like to think about inspiration being a big part of that relationship, and I think that might come from a place of love, in that the things that I feel like we have a chance to impact, we come from a place of love in trying to impact that, and that's very inspirational. But I don't know. I mean, maybe inspiration isn't anything more than interest plus a little bit of connection. I'm not sure. Anyone else want to comment?
I know I referred to you guys when I was introducing you at the very beginning about how you've been inspiring me. There's also, there's loving the person and there's loving the thing that you're doing. Right. And I think they're both important. Yeah. I think most of us, it's easy to talk about loving the thing, but the loving the person seems to be too intimate for some people to talk about. But
that's right.
Which is sad, really.
Yeah.
Like, why would we be afraid to admit that we love each other?
Yeah. Because it's vulnerable, right? It's less vulnerable to love the thing because the thing doesn't have to love you back. You don't need it to love you back. And honestly, we get really offended when whatever the thing is doesn't work for us, right? We get all pissed off like it was supposed to love us back. But when it's people, there's a risk that you could not be loved back in some way, and that's scary. Relationships are hard, as Felicity says, right? And I just quoted Felicity.
Who's Felicity?
Felicity was a TV show in the U.S. back in the 90s. Oh, God. Anyway, we should move on to somebody else because I just quoted Felicity. We should move on.
I think it's about people to understand faculty and listen to their story, and really take the time to develop that relationship so you can develop a relationship of caring. And in order to do that, we really need to take the time to gain empathy and understand what they're going through. I think in a lot of spaces, there's almost animosity between instructional designers and faculty.
I'll add to that because I think that's a really good point. I turned it on. That's a really good point, Patrice, is that I used to, especially because I entered my professional life as a director. I pretty much got a director position right out of grad school, and it was one of those things where I felt like I had to be a certain level of professionalism from the get-go, and to be kind of impenetrable in my ability to work with faculty and really show them that I was worth spending time with them around, you know, issues of pedagogy. And what that created was kind of this invulnerability that also made me quite unapproachable in some ways. And I think there's a tendency maybe among instructional designers and people who do this kind of work among faculty to kind of present this uber expert, I know all the things and I'm going to teach you all the things because that relationship needs me, right? And instead, and that creates this kind of interesting gap in relationship between faculty and instructional designers.
I've actually found a little bit of the, I don't want to say opposite, but a different dynamic where often in the TLC, the Teaching and Learning Center, we say that we're Switzerland. Because faculty come to us and we are a centralized service and they tell us everything, their woes, their concerns, and it's actually wonderful because we sort of get this great picture of all the pain points of every single school. We have a School of Dentistry, School of Nursing, and School of Medicine. And it's been really powerful for me as I track all of that, and I've been waiting and hoping and wanting to kind of be invited to the table of some policy work, and part of my research with you guys is to get to that place where I feel like I have so much information that is not being said and that's scared to be said, but very much a part of faculty's lives. And the other word around inspiration is empathy as well. Obviously, a way to build relationships is empathy. But I also find that faculty are empathetic with me. I'm the one in the office that's really pushing forward social media, even though it's very much shunned upon at our institution right now. I'm still working on policy to allow Twitter in the classroom. You know, and even just me saying to a faculty member, what would it be like if you had a conversation Monday through Thursday and then opened it up to the world on Friday on Twitter? And literally, like, their jaws drop and their whole body changes and they're like, we can do that? I mean, that's where I'm at right now, and it's an incredible feeling like a renaissance literally right now in February or March of 2016. So we're a little bit maybe archaic at our institution, being in a risk-averse medical institution that's very nervous about HIPAA and FERPAs, but it's a beautiful dance right now, and I just want to thank all of you for this work, because you're bringing us forward by sharing this so openly.
To your institution, you're going to see even more of that. Do a lot
Say
of
that again?
I've been doing that kind of trying to inspire faculty to do certain things for a while, and having the Digital Pedagogy Lab Cairo right here has just sparked so much. And I think, I mean, even someone like Nadine, who's been very responsive to the kind of thing I'm saying, and she's online and she's following everybody. Can you tell us a little bit more about how this has been for you? Because, you know, being where you are, and I'm feeling it, you know?
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, ever since I started working at CLT with Maha, she has been such an amazing mentor, and I don't think I would be where I am today if it weren't for her. But ever since I started, I've been trying to be more online, more on Twitter. I mean, I've had an account for years before then, and go figure, I mean, I started it in January 2011, but then I started using it a bit more only for 2 years now. So I have formed a little bit of connections on it, and I have networked, and I worked a little bit with people collaboratively on Twitter and online without having met them at all. But then the few weeks before Digital Pedagogy Lab Cairo has been very strongly that way, and I just loved it, and I was already like feeling the energy and feeling the environment before the event started. And I think also because we started using Slack, not just Twitter, that kind of like got me into that as well. And I was also, because I'm the on-site buddy throughout the event, I also started joining people at Virtually Connecting on Slack and on Twitter. And Autumn, like, I met Autumn over the weekend on a hangout, and she just talked to me a lot about how this is done, and I feel like I've learned a lot from everybody. And then when I came to have it face-to-face and on-site, it was just, I don't know, I mean, I'm out of words, I can't really say it. It was just an experience that I felt part of something bigger. I mean, even though I'm not as connected as everybody here, I started feeling part of it, and it's very empowering and very encouraging and motivational to start working on more projects, and I'm already getting ideas that I haven't really got before. And I feel like that is one of the ways that this event and the weeks leading to it have helped me a lot with my professional life as well as personal. I'm meeting all these lovely people and making beautiful friends, and I'm just, again, out of words.
Two really interesting things I think that came out of what you're saying and out of what the facilitators have been saying today. First of all is that you being here, feeling like you're part of the world because the virtual people are participating with us so much. You guys have no idea how gratifying it is for people here to realize that this is part of something so much bigger than here. And I'm thinking probably, usually when I'm virtual, I'm happy that I'm part of something that's on site. But what's happening here is that the on-site people are enjoying the interaction with the people outside. And I'm seeing people who are on their first week on Twitter, and I'm seeing them talking to a lot of different people I know from online, and then people asking, a lot of people thought Autumn was here. I love it when that happens. And then the other thing is that I've been hearing so much from the facilitators about how they're learning and how this has been for them. Okay. All right.
It's funny.
So,
it's funny.
You can? I'm happy to talk. Sorry, I'm happy to talk. I've just, I'm Bonnie. I came in late. Sorry. Hi, everybody. Hi, Sunday. Hi, Autumn. Hi, people. And I apologize that I was late. I was just finishing up the lightning talks in the other room. But being here has actually been really, really incredible, because what I'm seeing, which is what I've kind of hoped for years, right, is the coming together across multiple sites of all kinds of communications and connections between people who live far away. And to the point where I actually think that rather than just a bunch of kind of discrete networks and sites, I'm starting to see real interconnections. And we have something really powerful to build on here. And this is the first opportunity that I've had to see maybe the full potential of this. Last year at the Digital Pedagogy Lab in Wisconsin, I met a pile of new people. A good third of them are still sort of in my daily feed, and a regular group of people that I connect and converse with, and that has really enriched my practice. I'm assuming that and hoping that the same will happen from here, not just for me, but for everyone here and for you folks who have joined us in the Hangout. And so that broadens all of our worlds, and that's been, you know, my hope for this, my goal for this.
And I just want to jump in for a minute to see if people that haven't asked a question yet on the virtual side have any questions. I know Wendy or Sunday, do you want to jump in?
I actually, I'm curious whether or not, I know Bonnie wrote about last year's Digital Pedagogy Lab that there were a lot of instructional designers as participants there. And is it different at this one? Is there more faculty members? It looks bigger. I'm just wondering, like, the difference of participants in this one.
This is actually a smaller group. So last year there were 75 participants. I believe that this is 50. Is that right? Or
54, yeah.
54, which is kind of more the number that we're aiming at for PEI. The 5-day ones are a bit longer.
The keynotes are public, so you have
Yep.
to click on keynotes.
There may be a little more visibility, and we're kind of learning with the process. But yeah, it's actually a smaller group. Not, I don't believe, in my track at least, not as many instructional designers. So the networks track this time was probably more focused on faculty. And I would say that probably has to do with maybe AUC and the Amical professional development structure, right? So every version will probably be slightly different depending on who the audience is.
So Dimitris.
Yeah, I was just reading Cindy's comment. I'm glad I can read that because it's kind of small, but I think events like this are a subtle way of introducing people to Twitter and other social media in a meaningful way, because I've done many workshops for faculty at my institution, and no one really gets it at first, and they just think it's something that will take time and it will need their attention and time, and I've seen some people get on board on their own gradually, and once they get it, they actually start to love it. And this, I believe this event is sort of an onboarding with much meaning, so it creates this very, very rich experience. And all the content and all the people makes it really, really meaningful. So they actually get it very, very quickly.
Okay. And introduce yourself because you weren't here when we did this.
I'm Nagla Sadi. I have just joined CLT AUC. Well, I do believe in sharing best practice. So I never used with Twitter before, just maybe Facebook and for friends and so, but not professionally. I mean, for my students and so. But when I started to see how people here are using Twitter in their classrooms, that's where I started. Okay, yesterday was my first time to start a new Twitter account, and I figured out that I'm missing a lot in my classroom because of Twitter. So sharing best practice does help, of course, faculty members, more than forcing them to attend workshops and so. I think just showing them that here, can you see what we're doing with our students because of Twitter, because of any other tool, that would help a lot. Thank you.
Go for it.
So I wanted to go back to Amy's talk from yesterday. She ended on the notion of dance, and which obviously put a smile to my face. And then another keynote, I don't know if you were watching that as well, that Jesse and Sean were hosting on day one. They were alluding to the idea of choreography, so learning as an act of choreography. And so they're related notions. And now a few of you people were mentioning vulnerability and empathy and intimacy. And obviously, we're talking about a movement of the body, be it sort of internal or an actual physical body moving through space. I like to think about these questions a little. This is the first time I get the opportunity to think about the digital learning tools, and I'm still unsure of how the two realms relate. Because I think what I'm coming out with is that I shouldn't look at them separately, sort of in binary terms, but begin to think about how to integrate the two. But I'm still missing a little reflection on the body. And I think Amy and I had like a brief moment where we agreed that it's definitely something worthwhile thinking a little bit about, but especially so in relation to these digital tools that I personally was introduced to for the first time. So I'd like to think a bit about that if anyone else has anything to say.
It's Wendy here. I think that's really interesting what you were saying about not dividing the digital tool from the thing that you're connecting with, if you like. And I've been thinking about, I'm coming from an ed tech perspective, so I quite often think about the technology first, but been thinking about nurturing students using these digital tools. And I think the fact that we have this video connection is one thing that makes it more of a connection than just let's discuss it over Twitter or let's just capture a single photo. And what I've been enjoying just the little bit that I have been able to connect into DigiPed Cairo is being able to see people that I've followed on Twitter and have connected with in text forms only. So being able to see people talking and moving and being able to see the way they hold their body, even seeing people stand up, it's a thing that you don't really think about, but when you only see headshots and avatars and this is the person that you're talking to, it's really nice to see video. And so I think that's another way that the digital tool helps that connection. So I'm really enjoying this connection. Thanks.
I'd like to jump in and just say, I don't know if anyone else has anything to say, but one of the things that I've been thinking about lately in terms of digital tools and kind of these questions that you're asking, Kareem, that I've been using them for a long time, but I never really thought about the fact that embodiment is an element that often gets ignored in our use of digital tools. And you know, as a dance instructor, which is what I was talking about yesterday, only recently did I start to think about the notion of embodiment in terms of the interactions that we have. You described, you know, kind of relational kinds of things like intimacy and empathy and things that are all about relational, but they're also embodied, right? Whether we take it online or not, those are questions of embodiment. And it's funny because, you know, some of the people that I see right now in front of me, and you know, people that are in the room with me right now, I see you as bodies differently than I have seen you on Twitter up to this point. And I think that that matters. It brings a different perspective to see mouths moving and heads wiggling, and or to be able to sit next to somebody and have your arm brush up against them. And so the question around embodiment to me is a really interesting one, especially when we take it back into our classrooms, right? Because then it becomes, you know, a matter of the fact that embodiment still is very much part of the human experience, but if we ignore it because we take it online and then we just forget that it exists, we might be doing a huge disservice to our students. The Bell Hooks book that we read in the praxis track, we read just chapter 1, but in a later chapter, she goes through a whole thing, a conversation with a colleague about embodiment and how by ignoring the body in the learning experience in the classroom, you actually can cause us to kind of forget the things that are the experiences of being a bodied individual in such a way that it kind of demeans the experience of being a bodied individual. And that's, or a body in a community. I mean, all those things are really, really important. So this notion of dance and embodiment, I'll say just one more thing. At Middlebury, we have various campuses across the world. We have a campus in California, and people don't expect this of Middlebury, but we have all these campuses. We have 36 or 39 schools abroad, and I work with people at all these different parts of the institution. And we've been talking a lot about how working across you know, in hybrid ways, essentially, makes it sometimes difficult to remember that, you know, these are bodied individuals that we're working with, and to do the respect and the care that we do when we do face-to-face stuff, to do that online when we're working with these individuals. So we started talking about different ways to kind of bring embodiment into our work. And I'll just share one recent example. We were talking about how there's a doctoral program at some institution where all the students, it's a fully online program, but all the students, when they have their synchronous meetings, are expected, they've been sent the same coffee mug. And they're expected during that time to drink out of the same mug, whatever you want to drink, during the meeting. And so there's this kind of shared physical feeling element of the experience. And I think those are the kinds of thoughtful behaviors that we need to be having when we think about doing these things in digital hybrid ways.
Does any of you guys want to say anything, virtual folks? As a comment, follow-up comment. Sure, go for it.
Yeah, I'd love to ask specifically, and maybe talking about the body leads into this well, but I'd love to hear about your experiences there in Cairo of, you know, especially with Maha before the start of the conference with her post-colonial post and her identity there, and what I make some assumptions about are some pretty Western ideas being brought over by the Digital Pedagogy Lab. Thinking about the diversity of the contexts that all the attendees are working in there, how is this going? How well is this being received? I'd love to hear from Dimitri or Kareem or anybody that's not from the U.S. there. How are these things being received? Are we being colonial with our love?
Do you want to respond to that?
Think about it first.
Does anybody have any comments for that while Dimitris thinks about this? Hoda? Yeah,
sure. Okay. So I'm Hoda, and I joined a little bit late, so I'm sort of catching up. But let me sit in the middle. All right, here we go. Hope I don't fall through the chairs. So This is the American University in Cairo, so there is a different kind of context here than you would see in national universities and public universities in Cairo. So I've taught at Cairo University and I've taught here at AUC. So I think that the subset of faculty here are more receptive to the types of ideas. So we kind of get it, or that's something we would aspire to, or something we would be willing to experiment with. I couldn't speak to how maybe local faculty in a national public university would react to teaching with love, or caring about your students, or these concepts of engagement, because it's a very didactic kind of approach to teaching in our public universities, which really hasn't changed much in 40 or 50 years, which is the sad state of higher education in Egypt. But I think that Digital Pedagogy Lab coming here, because a lot of us do a lot of outreach, and because the Center for Learning and Teaching, part of our mission is outreach. I think we should be doing more of that. So reaching out to maybe small seeds of people who, I know Karim is in a little island in, Karim? You have a little island of liberal kinds. Here we go. He can talk a little bit about what he does here in Cairo. So we have AUC, and then we have another nonprofit kind of experience, I think.
Okay, so on the question of coloniality, the mere fact that we're discussing in English is obviously, I think earlier we had this closing session in the other room, and a participant from Lebanon was mentioning that she feels great hesitation when it comes to setting up a Twitter account and putting up pictures or voicing her opinion all too but just too boldly, and just present her the notion of the public identity. I think that's, I think there's two aspects here. One, which is, she referred to it as cultural. She was referring back to her childhood in Lebanon, that if she were to give out a picture of herself to someone, that would cause a scandal, and be like, oh, how could you give out a picture of yourself, how shameful of you, and these kind of associations. But I think another aspect just slipped my mind, actually. Let me see. Where did it go? The public identity. There's another aspect though about. Oh yeah. So the other aspect is something that I'm experiencing these days. So I had to kind of lower my traffic on Facebook, or pretty much deactivate it for political reasons, for security reasons. And I'm going to stop right here, but that's just another consideration to keep in mind when you're dealing. I'm going to say one last thing and then run out of here. When you're dealing with a fascist regime. Peace.
I want to just touch on the embodiment and the humanizing of online instruction just very briefly, because the conversation is beautiful and I like it, and I don't want to abruptly finish it. I'm just saying that the bus is leaving in about 35 minutes, so we want to wrap up within the next 5 to 10 minutes tops. So this idea of humanizing online instruction, and that's a MOOC that I took recently, a few months ago, about humanizing online learning instruction and designing online content and online courses that would be humanized in a way that students don't feel like they're talking to and receiving information from a computer. And previously, when I did research on the elements that engage online students, I spent about a few months researching that. One of the ways in which it does that is the interaction element, and it's not just it's not enough to just interact with people through typing. I feel like synchronous sessions, even if they don't have a huge purpose for content coverage, because a lot of these synchronous versus asynchronous conversations tell you, oh, don't meet with the students online synchronously unless you have to, or unless it covers a purpose. But a huge purpose in online learning courses is developing a community that would last throughout the whole course, and even after that, hopefully, if that's one of the philosophies of the teacher. So I feel like that is a huge purpose and should be actively and purposefully done. You know what I mean? So if anybody on the virtual end or on-site end wants to add anything, Dimitris, if you want to say something.
I believe the place is sort of has all this history, and the people here have this embedded curiosity to learn new things and to beam out. I mean, all this history, all this knowledge has been beamed out to the world all these centuries, and now they're eager to hear back, get the feedback, all the new information, all the knowledge that travels through the networks, get back to essentially where they first started from. And all these people are really passionate. I've been really amazed with what I've been experiencing here, with people just starting with these tools and really jumping in with both feet and connecting and posting, and you know, it's a brave thing to do, and at this time and in this place, and it's been really inspiring for me. That's all.
If you guys want to interject and say something in these few minutes, anybody online?
Any last thoughts, anyone?
Jesse and Sean just walked in to say hi, actually, so welcome, you guys. Do you guys want to say anything? Generally, we were talking about humanizing online instruction and embodiment, and making reference to Amy's talk as well.
No, we just wanted to wave and say hello.
Okay.
We were standing there hovering in the doorway, and we didn't think it was very human of us, so we wanted to actually be present in the room.
I keep looking for whether or not you're sunburnt yet.
I don't think so.
No, it's actually been a bit chilly this week.
We've been inside a lot.
Well, I'll jump in just for a second, if I can, and just say that it's getting to the point, and I think it's because I've been doing a lot with virtually connecting, but it's kind of amazing to me when I talk to instructors and I say, well, have you thought about doing a video chat with your students? And it's kind of almost getting to the point now where it reminds me of conversations I used to have with instructors when I'd say, have you considered picking up the phone and calling your student, right? Like that they were like, well, I never thought of that as an online technology, right? It's like, it doesn't matter. The technology doesn't matter. What matters is the connection, and whether it's a phone or whether it's a chat or whether it's a video, that doesn't matter. But what elements does that bring? And what a video chat brings, I think, goes back to that embodiment piece. And those things do make a difference. Those smiles and I mean, you get the inflection of voice over the phone, right? But you don't get like those little head nods and the way the eyes open up, right? And the hand gestures and that kind of stuff. And those little things really do make a difference. But I think that in some folks' minds, a video chat is still sort of the future, right? Like that, we don't have that yet. And it's like, no, we actually do have that. It's not that hard. It's not that difficult. Here, let me show you the steps. Let me show you the pieces. And I think that people get intimidated by the steps. They get intimidated by the technology, but you can really excite them with the connections. You can excite them with the idea of making those connections. And I think once they start experiencing it, then it catches fire, and it just keeps going.
It's a great thought, Autumn. Thank you for that. I'm sorry, you guys. We have to get going. The bus is leaving in about 30 minutes. So this has been great. I really enjoyed this. DPLC generally has been awesome. Thank you guys for coming and for all of the intellectual high that you kept me on for the past few days.
Can I just add one quick thing?
Sure.
I mean, I love the fact that we just had this conversation. The critical questions that were raised by both sides have just been really, really helpful. I would love to see this not end. So whatever networks it's on, whether it's Twitter or some other, let's not stop this. Make sure we have a way to share our information in a way that we can connect. So just please.
I agree, and triple that request from everybody. All right. Thanks, you guys. It was really nice talking to you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Really interesting.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to stop the broadcast now.
Okay.